Welcome back to the PhotoCEO podcast, where hosts Megan Mondrell and Frederica Gullickson teach you how to build your photo business by listening to your intuition, taking empowered action, and embodying the PhotoCEO mindset.
Welcome back to this week's podcast episode. My name is Frederica, and I'm here with my business partner, Megan. We are the owners of Photo Business Design and creators of PhotoCEO. So this week's episode is a bit of a special one. It is actually been inspired by one of our Instagram followers. So thank you to Kendra Forbes for asking us this question and for asking us to cover this topic. In this episode, we will be covering the 5 things that photographers need to know to take their photography hobby and turn it into a business. So we thought that we would just go through and give 5 tips on what we think will serve you the best. And they are all, quick and easy to implement for the most part. So
Exactly. We really wanted to give things that have very low action threshold so that there were no excuses or barriers or limiting beliefs that you could really put up. Anyone can begin doing this today.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we get started? The first one is creating a social media page so that you can start providing good content and stop just being a consumer on social media.
Yeah, it's very much a mentality that you have to have. Everybody has a social media page, and some people really it's good to have personal content on your business page still, but it's just a different mentality of a provider versus a consumer, where in everything that you put out there, someone else will enjoy it, whether for an educational purpose or an entertainment purpose, or just because it's a pretty picture with a meaningful caption.
Yeah, exactly. So number 2 would be to legitimize your business legally by getting things like a business license and a GST number so that you don't cap your earning potential.
Exactly. I think that it's such a limiting belief. It's such a barrier when people are afraid to get that stuff. And it's always this big hurdle. It's always made out to be this huge thing. And a lot of people are just waiting until they make that $30,000 a year. But really, I think that it holds people back subconsciously so much because you're afraid to make too much money. You're afraid to stand out. You're afraid to be noticed because of whatever possible consequences could come from that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for myself too, it goes back to that. It used to go back to that limiting belief of well, I don't know how to do this. Well, that is no longer a valid excuse because of Google. Our wonderful Google search engine will tell you exactly what you need to do to find a business license in your area and to get your GST number once you get your business license and set up your name in a registry in your province.
Exactly. And that will be double smushed once we get the content that we're creating out into the world. It's going to be laid out so simply that there's no room for you to make any excuses anymore.
Yeah. Or be confused. I think that confusion really holds a lot of people up, and there's no need for that when we put together that guide for everybody. So number 3 is a big one, and probably my favorite one, which is investing in education, whether that's business coaching, photography workshops, or life coaching.
Yeah, you always value things that you purchase. You value everything that you would spend money on because we cherish our money, we work hard for it. And I think that when you invest monetarily in your business, not just with time, you hold yourself to such a higher standard. And it also allows you to kind of bury some of those imposter syndrome feelings when you know that you have a legitimate backing to some of your knowledge.
Exactly. And one of my favorite things that I have heard in terms of marketing is people do not value what is free. And that could go also back into the discussion of, working for free as a photographer. People don't value what's free. And when you even enroll in things that are free, like if you sign up your email to get a freebie or whatever, the chances of you actually implementing those things are close to zero if you don't actually invest money. As soon as you invest money, you are way, way more likely to implement what you have learned and let it be the thing that, transforms you and your business. And I just want to take a second to mention the life coaching piece. Life coaching, the reason I mention that, even though it has nothing to do with business or photography, is it has everything to do with your identity. And if your identity is somebody who is a hobby photographer and doesn't know what they're doing, or is being in maybe more of a poverty mindset, then you're not likely to earn a lot of money in your business because you're going to start self-sabotaging yourself. And so if you work with a life coach who can help you through that identity piece and really like teach you how to up level your identity to embody a photo CEO, that is going to be the key thing that gets you moving in your business much more quickly, because you'll start believing in yourself and really knowing that what you have to offer is worth putting out there.
Exactly.
Um,
Some other things that you could invest into are courses, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, masterminds, workshops. One thing just to note about workshops is to understand why you're wanting to go to a workshop. If it's for the knowledge aspect, be sure that you're doing lots of research on the people who are hosting the workshop, how much time they're putting into teaching you, and what words they're using when they're describing what you're learning. I personally have found that a lot of workshops focus more on the content and getting great photos for your portfolio, which is awesome if that's what you're going there for. But if you're going for knowledge, just make sure you're doing a lot of research, and also realize that something we could talk on again in a future episode is creating style shoots. You don't have to be spending $300 to $500 or more just to get great photos for your portfolio.
yeah, totally agree. So number 4, I love this one. Megan came up with this one, is creating an official workspace in your home.
Yeah, I think that it's really easily overlooked, but if you treat your business like a business, it will be a business. If you treat your business like a hobby, like sitting on your couch or on your bed consistently, if you have a very messy space, a space that's not dedicated to your business, I think that then it can start to be very wishy-washy and the lines can cross as far as what your reasons are behind doing it.
Yeah. And I think you just tend not to take yourself as seriously if you don't have that space set aside for your business. And I have very strict rules around my space. I am in a very small apartment here in Victoria, and I don't have a separate office space. Like, I have a 1 bedroom. Live here with my husband and our dog. We have a living room and kitchen that is all one room, and then we just have like our bathroom and our laundry. And so the kitchen table has turned into my desk. And the reason for that is also because it's next to the only large window in the whole apartment, and I need that access to that light. And so I have strict rules around what's going to be on this table. Like, we still eat at the table, like at dinner time and at different meals. But when my husband comes home, he knows that he is not allowed to put his wallet and keys and cell phone on my desk, because at that time of the day, it's a desk and it is meant for my business and the things that I need to run it. And it's okay to create those boundaries if you need to, right? Especially, and you can create a space for yourself even in a really small and cramped apartment that doesn't have a dedicated office room.
Mhm.
So number 5 is to ask for reviews. So this
Yeah.
means asking for reviews no matter where you are, whether it's like on Facebook. If you are connected on Google, then asking for Google reviews. Um, and then Megan also had a really good idea that she should share for if you don't have those things.
Yeah, when we were thinking of this podcast and specifically this topic, it initially was either Google review, ideally, or Facebook. But I thought that that would probably pose as a little bit of a barrier for some people, a hurdle to jump, because as soon as you mention website, people like poo their pants a little bit. They're like, I don't know how to do that. That's going to take so long that this whole point is irrelevant to me. And it's not, because it's as simple as asking someone for a review in a text message or in an email, even in an Instagram message, and screenshotting that. You can black out their name, their picture. You can also ask them like, hey, thanks so much for this review. If it came naturally, is it okay if I screenshot and share anonymously? If it's something you ask for and they give, then obviously it's okay with them if you share it. But just share that to your story. Or you can take the text from that and reformat it into something that you can post on your Instagram or your Facebook. Or you can include it in an email if you have a really long but bomb inquiry email and you want to throw in a little snippet of something that someone said. It doesn't have to be restricted just to the platforms where they can go to a link and leave something, as in like a or a Facebook review or a Google review.
Yeah. And I think too that if you're screenshotting it, share it to your stories, your Instagram stories, like Megan said, and then go into that story and make it a highlight so that the highlight turns into a series of reviews that are always going to be found on your Instagram page, if that's one of the only platforms that you're using or the only platform.
Yeah, a little bit of sales psychology here, which is something that we can go more into depth on later. But when you are screenshotting, even if you are blacking out the person's name for their privacy reasons, it does create another level of trust to certain buyers who need that, I guess, proof that someone actually wrote it. So that's another good thing too, is that honestly, it might even be even better, like a more trustworthy way to get reviews rather than a Facebook review, because sometimes, I don't know, people just don't trust that it came naturally. Whereas a text message or an email 100% came naturally. Underline the part that is super relevant that you want people to focus on and post that to your stories and save it for later.
Yeah, that's great. And I am definitely one of those people that buy based on reviews. I never invest money or time with people who don't have reviews. And so, and that goes across industries, not just photography. So yeah, definitely super important to be asking for those, because sometimes you'll get people who give them just on their own action without being prompted, but most of the time they just need that reminder and that ask. So, and they're usually more than happy to give it, especially if you've worked with someone and they've had a particularly good experience with you.
Yeah, one recommendation for when you're asking for a review, with your verbiage, make sure that you are asking them to take 5 minutes whenever they have time to leave a review, instead of just saying, leave me a review, because when you add that 5 minute portion to it, it lets them know that you're expecting something other than just like 10 out of 10 would recommend, right? You want to, and you can even explain a little bit more. Like, I'd love if you could expand on the communication process, how it made you feel, and how you liked the photos. Super simple. It doesn't sound like you're pressuring them, but it also opens the door for them to talk about more.
Totally. And I use that as well. And I think that like when you have 5 minutes is great too, because it's being considerate of their time and not just demanding something from them by saying, leave me a review, please.
Yes.
And I also, in my, when I send out albums to clients, in my final email that I send them, I ask them for the review, and I have specific places where I asked them to go. And I give them prompts, just like Megan was saying. I say, if you are having trouble getting started on what you would like to say, I usually ask my clients these 3 questions. And they are, what was your expectation coming into the experience of having your photo taken? How did you feel when you saw your photos? And were you happy with the experience? Did you feel excited when you got your images back? And that sort of thing. And it just kind of gives them that prompting of like, oh, here's something I can write about, versus, being confused and stuck on what they should say, which might, if they don't know what to say, might lead them to procrastinate, and then you just don't get the review. So
Yeah.
yeah, so those are our 5 tips. So I'll just quickly say them again. 1, create a social media page where you can start providing good content that people want to see, and stop being so much of a consumer on social media. 2, legitimize your business legally. 3, invest in education. 4, create an official workspace. And then 5, ask for the review. So thank you guys again. This episode came from one of our followers on our Instagram page, which is Photo Business Design. So thank you, Kendra, for asking the question and inspiring this episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of the PhotoCEO podcast with your hosts, Frederica and Megan. We hope you enjoyed your deep dive into these tips and tricks on how to transform from photographer to photo CEO. If you liked this episode, we do have a personal request. We want to continue helping more photographers like you, so we'd love if you could leave us a 5-star review. This helps us reach more people, which means we can continue bringing you helpful content every week that helps you in your photo business. If you have any questions or would like to suggest a topic for the podcast, reach out to us by direct messaging us on Instagram at Photo Business Design or by sending us an email to hello@photobusinessdesign.com. Thanks for listening, and we hope that you have another great week in your photo business.